Babes, today I'm going to show you plants that no one in their right senses ever regrets buying.
What happened to hello? How are you? My name is. What happened to that?
These are plants worth every single cent of your hard-earned dollars. And I'm not going to just show you these plants, but I'm going to tell you and show you why. And at the end of the day, you're going to be convinced. So without much ado, let's start with the first plant. First plant, babes, is a neon pothos. This is like the easiest and best pothos in my opinion, because not only are you getting a plant that will give you that pop of color, but you're getting a pothos that will readily trail and will just readily fill up whatever container you have it placed in. This, in my opinion, is the fastest growing pothos. I dare say even faster than your golden pothos. I've had several of these that I have sold. I've even made more money from. And every single one of these, I started it with a small vine. It was literally like a vine that had maybe 4 leaves, because as at the time, they were so rare in this my part of the world. So somebody from another city literally sent me one vine of this, and it was the best one vine I have ever received in my life. Extremely unproblematic, extremely easy. If you give it bright light, it gives you this beautiful pop of color. In lower light, look at the back over here. In lower light, you can see that the leaves are a bit more darker green, which still isn't bad. And it doesn't even need fancy soil. This is not growing in my fancy soil mix. This is pretty much growing in like actual soil from the earth. Doesn't need fancy soil, and also doesn't need a ton of fertilizer. I've had several of these for years, and I only just started fertilizing them recently. And regardless, it just wants to grow and grow like a weed. I've had several pothos in my care. This, I will vehemently and categorically say, is worth every single ounce of your money. This. Go out there and get yourself a neon pothos. You won't regret it at all. The next one on this list cost a lot more, but babes, she's worth it. She's worth every single cent of it. So if you happen to stumble on, like inheritance from your late grandmother, I would say yes, get this one. Hang on. Look at the material. The Dieffenbachia Big Ben Variegata. Oh my God, I have featured this plant on my channel every single 5 minutes because she's absolutely worth it. I grew this plant from a stump 3 years ago. A stump 3 years ago, and here we are today. She has not given me one issue at all, and I've subjected her to every single condition that there is. There was a time I left her outdoors in extreme heat and she bounced back. There have been times where I've overwatered, I have underwatered, and she bounced back. I have not had any issue with pests on this girly. And to blow your mind, she's not even growing in any fancy soil, babes. She is growing entirely in cocoa coir.
Oh my God!
Growing entirely in cocoa coir, no fancy aeroid mix, no fancy amendment, just your plain cocoa coir, and she loves it. Look at the new leaf, babes. Look at the new leaf. She loves it. I do, however, have to ensure that I fertilize her with each watering because cocoa coir doesn't have any nutrients, and I have paired her with a terracotta pot. I talked about terracotta pot in one of my videos, and some of the girlies disagreed with me. But like I said, you can use terracotta pot, but strategically. In this case, I'm using it for a medium that retains a lot of water. Cocoa coir retains a lot of moisture. So when you pair it with terracotta, it balances that off. And she absolutely loves it. New girl, she's dusty. I will admit she looks a bit dusty, but she's happy regardless. So if you can, this pot is a bit heavy. If you can, I would say please get yourself one of these, mama. It is worth the money. You don't even need like the fanciest grow light. I literally just have her place in the corner next to the window, and she absolutely loves it there. So yes, get yourself a Diefenbachia Big Ben Variegata. If you can afford it, and if you can find where to get one, love you, babes. Okay, let's move on to the next one. This next one is cheap. You can find it in pretty much every store, every big box store, but it is worth every single penny. Oh, let me try this. Babe, it's your good old regular schmegular yucca plant. For the longest time, I never liked this plant. I only bought it because I wanted to make a reel. But the moment I got it and I spent a couple of weeks with it, I realized, oh my goodness gracious, this is an easy plant that doesn't need much. This is probably one of the most drought tolerant plants that there is, and you can get away with watering this plant once a month. I have gotten away with watering this plant once a month on several occasions, and it is still fine. And also, this is an incredibly light adaptable plant. This plant can take full intense sun. So if you happen to live in a very sunny climate, this plant can take the full intense sun, but also does well indoors. I currently have a place right next to my window indoors, and it is doing well and has been growing. Sometimes I even forget that the plant is there. Again, this is not growing in any fancy soil, babes. This is growing in soil from the earth. Can you see? From the earth, because I'm not about to use my fancy soil in like just the most random of these plants. And this plant doesn't mind it at all. You don't need fancy soil for this. Heck, I barely even fertilized this girl. So she is affordable, light adaptable, drought tolerant. You don't need fancy. I feel like this is the plant that will do well in like your regular schmegular potty mix. Like, if it can do well in soil, in regular soil indoors, I'm sure your mix of perlite and cocoa coir should do just fine. I absolutely have now fallen in love with this plant, and sincerely speaking, I feel like it is what 10 times what, even more than what I paid for it. Absolutely gorgeous. I would always recommend. There's a variegated one that I also have, but regardless of which one you get, the yucca will always be that girl that will be worth every ounce of the money she sold for, in my experience and in my opinion. Yeah, I love you now. I didn't love you before, but I love you now, babes. Now, moving on to the next one. This next one looks really basic, but babes, it's not always about how the plant looks, it's about how the plant functions. Ladies and gentlemen, your cast iron plant. Babes, there's a reason why this plant is called a cast iron plant, because it is virtually indestructible. It is virtually indestructible. In fact, this is a specimen I've had for about 2 years that I was growing in extreme neglect. I would literally go like 2 months and forget to water this plant, because sometimes I used to ask myself, is this a living organism? Because it can go weeks, months with neglect and still be fine. It's not going to grow. As you can see, this was extremely stunted. It only started growing when I started taking better care of it. But babes, if you want to have this plant and just have a corner where you dump it as a decor plant, oh, this plant will really, really do the job. And I always tell people with this sort of plain looking plant, don't pair them in this your basic plastic pots. You could actually pair them in, hang on, a cute terracotta, oh sorry, in a cute ceramic pot, and and it will just enhance their features. And can I blow your mind for that? This ceramic pot has no drainage hole. Sis has been growing in this for months with no drainage hole. I just water sporadically and it seems to love it. Like I said, these guys are indestructible. What's not to love? Why, like, what's not to like? This, you see what I mean when I say these are plants that are worth every single penny? So over in Nigeria, these guys are quite rare and they can be really expensive here. But I always tell my clients, it's gonna be worth that money, babes. Go for it. And I'm passing that advice to you. Please get this, and it will be worth the money. This is a plant that is very long lived. I saw a Reddit post one time that she had had this plant for close to 60 years, if I'm not mistaken. It's very long lived. It's It's virtually indestructible. What's that $20? What that $50? Whatever the price tag is for these? Go and get yourself one of these babes. All right, all right. If you're liking this video, if you're enjoying this video, please subscribe. Okay, subscribe. Thank you. Let's proceed. Now, girlies, the next plant is right behind me. Let's have a closer look. It is this babe here, your Monstera adansoni. Babes, please get this over your Monstera deliciosa. Some of you want to have a Monstera deliciosa so bad that you forget and neglect the best Monstera, in my opinion, in terms of ease of care and in terms of practicality. Where your Monstera deliciosa is going to end up taking up so much space, your Monstera adansonia will not. Your Monstera adansonia would also readily climb up a pole in this case, but also easily and readily trail. Whereas your Monstera deliciosa, even though it's a vining plant, will look like a hot mess if you allow it trail. It needs support. This is more practical, more, more adaptable, more demure, more respectable. My knees are paining, my have to stand up. Also, this is a fast growing weed, girlies. And in fact, when I grew this outdoors, it was pretty much pushing out like one leaf. What's one leaf? Two leaves every week. But I have since moved this indoors. I don't even have her placed in an area where she gets a lot of light, yet she's still growing. Not as fast, but she's still readily growing. So this is a plant that doesn't need a hecton of light to actually grow. It will do well in like this medium sort of like light as well. So babes, please, this plant worth every single penny. You can easily propagate it and you can even potentially sell it and make your money back, if not more, which is what I have done. So yes, do get you one of these. Okay, so for the two remaining plants, we're going to have to go outside because they are too heavy for me to move. So let's go outside. This I can categorically say is the easiest aglonema in the world. The easiest aglonema in my experience and my longest lived aglonema. I started this sis off when she was just a small pup and she has grown to this beautiful full specimen. Bear in mind, I've also separated her on several occasions to give to friends and to sell. This babe is definitely worth every single ounce of your money. And I know I sound like a broken record when I say this, but I'm not growing this plant in fancy soil. It is growing in soil from the earth. Nothing fancy, no fancy aerated mix. Just your regular soil from the earth. I also sporadically water this one, like at this point, maybe once a month, to be honest, once a month, and sis absolutely doesn't mind. Look at the material. She's bringing out new growth here. Just look at this. I love this babe. Worth every ounce of your money. If there's one aglonema that I would always recommend, it's this one, and please get her. You're not gonna have any regrets. Okay, last but certainly not the least by any means is my ponytail palm. Guys, I used to see this plant as a plant that just looked like a lemongrass until somebody gifted me this plant, and then I kept it in a very dark corner. I was going through a dark phase in my life and I kept it in a dark corner and it did well. Like, it didn't die. Like, it was there for like a month and I didn't even lose a single leaf, and it made me have a deeper appreciation for this plant. This is a very light, adaptable plant. Takes full sun, takes intense crazy sun. This corner is like very sunny, but also does well indoors and extremely drought tolerant again. I mean, what is not to love? So in my opinion, this plant is worth every single ounce of your money, and please get it. So girlies, we have come to the end of this video, and if you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe. I hope I've also been able to convince you that these plants are worth every ounce of your hard-earned money. All right, I'm gonna see you guys in the next one, but till then, please be safe and have an amazing rest of your day. Bye.